everybody.
Hi, friends. Well, from beautiful Salt Lake City, Utah,
It's Thank God I'm Atheist.
the podcast.
I'm Frank Feldman.
And I'm Dan Beecher.
And coming up on the show today, BYU, that's Brigham Young University down in Provo, Utah, owned by the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day
Just
Saints.
call them Mormons. They're just the Mormons. Shut up, Church of Jesus
That's
Christ
what
of
they...
Latter-day.
So now that I've said that, I am now allowed by their requirements
By their style
I
sheet.
can briefly call them the Church of Jesus Christ.
Ah,
I'm now allowed, but Mormon Church, the Mormons, that's gone. Anyway, their BYU college, university,
yes.
they were going to be giving out some LGBTQ resource pamphlets to incoming freshmen this year. That got trashed. That got dumped real quick. So, we're going to talk about it.
Wait, I mean, now they know the outcome. They're not going to keep listening.
Oh, no. This is an old trick. You tell people the end of the story and then you provide them. How did we get there?
With all the context?
Yeah. No, it's good. Yeah.
You guys
Wait
won't
for the
believe
context.
this one simple trick to ignoring your LGBTQ students.
All right. Well, Dan, first we need to talk about some news stuff. Some stuff that happened this week. It has been announced officially, Dan, that starting September 1st, a cherished pre-pandemic activity, ritual is coming back.
Ooh.
So, and the organization behind it all, they acknowledge that this is the next step in our efforts to live with COVID. And that is the Jehovah's Witnesses are hitting the streets and knocking doors again.
Oh, God. It's not like I enjoyed receiving their stupid letters, their handwritten letters, which I got at least 2 of.
Oh, wow. Really?
Yeah.
Huh.
Did you not get any?
I think we got one. I got one.
Okay.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, that's so much, it's stupid, but it's so much better than knocking on our doors.
Oh, it is such an intrusion. It is so rude. It's like, if you're knocking on my door, you better have a real reason to be interacting with me. That's something that you either know me, right? And you know I'm going to appreciate you knocking on my door, or you're scheduled to knock on my door,
right?
Or you're delivering something for me, which not even all delivery services knock on your door anymore.
Right.
A lot of times they just leave it and wait for your app to tell you.
Right.
So for them to do it, it feels more and more every year that goes by like an absolute intrusion into my life.
I wonder if Amazon, if the advent of home delivered everything has kind of fucked it up for them, because we're all used to hearing a knock on our door and we just go, oh, it's probably just a package, and we ignore it until we're ready.
Not in my neighborhood.
Oh, no?
You run and get it as quickly as you can.
Oh, okay. That's fair.
Because it may not be there.
Yeah, there is that. It's one of those things where, okay, so here, I'm going to run this by you and just see how you feel about it. This is a new way of handling it when a Mormon or a Jehovah's Witness knocks on your door. You open the door, and the second you see who it is, you go, "Ah!" and you just close the door again.
Oh, what a dickish thing, Dan.
Well, look, you literally just said they're the ones being the dicks.
No, that's true. So you're allowed to respond like a dick?
I think you can respond like a dick. I think turnabout is fair play.
Fair enough. I mean, so you know my situation. We have our front door is a giant. It's one of those doors that it's all just glass, right? And so it's a townhome, and the living space is up on the second floor, right? It's just garage and one little bedroom on the first floor. And so I come down the stairs, right? And and I'm looking to see who is there, who has just rung the bell.
Yeah.
And I see legs. And as soon as I realize that who it is that is just, who's at the door, I basically do the equivalent of what you do. And I know they can see me, which is just,
and
then I look at them and I waggle my finger and go and shake my head and turn around and go back up the stairs.
I love it.
I've done that twice. I've done that to the Mormon missionaries, and I've done it to the Jehovah's Witnesses.
That is literally the equivalent. You can't get mad at me about what I said to do when that's what you're doing.
Well, mine's a little different.
No, it's exactly the same thing.
I never opened my door.
Not everyone has that option, Frank. I'm just trying to help people out.
I just like I got to the top of the stairs the first time I did that, and I was just like, that was wild. I'm kind of proud of myself.
I feel
like waggle and shake my head. No,
absolutely not. There is a new, the advent of doorbell cameras has brought about a very interesting new sort of genre of online videos, which is religious annoyances at the door.
Yeah.
And what they're doing and how they're handling themselves and stuff. There are some funny videos out there.
Yeah, I bet. Also what you could do with that, like if you're somebody who screens who's at your door, right? Because most of these things have little like microphones and speakers.
Right.
Right. Just give them a good nope.
Rejected. There's videos. I've seen videos where like people, one of the videos I saw recently was some Mormon missionaries at someone's door, and that someone had put up a sign that said no soliciting, no religion, no blah blah blah. It was very specific.
Mm-hmm.
And the kid read it, and you literally see him, because we have video of you going, and shrugging and then ringing the doorbell anyway.
Oh, what a dick.
It's like, dude.
Yeah. I know a lot of people just, if they know who's at the door, they just hang out inside their house. Right. And just just, I'm not even going to confront them. And I get it. Like if it's triggering to you, and it's a little, the Mormon missionaries, it is a little triggering to me. Right.
Yeah.
Like I don't want to, I hate talking to the Mormon missionaries. Right. And they're fairly active in my neighborhood, and it drives me nuts.
Just offer them porn. They don't get to see it. Like, just be like, hey, you guys want to come in and look at some porn?
Oh, God. That's like a proposition, practically. No.
I'm not going to be with you, but I'll let you look on my machine. It's fine.
That would be awkward. No, but I do think that you should not let them off the hook in whatever way you choose to do that. For me, It's waggling my finger.
Right.
And not engaging with them. But they know I want nothing to do with you. Right.
Yeah. I will say this, for my money, and not everyone agrees with this, and that's fine. For my money, the worst thing you can do is try to have a conversation about religion with them.
Oh, God. Yeah.
Because they're literally not going to hear a word you say.
Well,
like you have all of the good arguments.
Yeah.
Of course you do. They're just not going to be able to hear them. They're just going to ignore them.
Well, it's mind-boggling to me that they still send. I mean, they're even younger than when I was out there. It's 18-year-olds. It used to be 19-year-olds. For 19
well, the Jehovah's Witnesses are
the Jehovah's Witnesses. I guess I'm talking about Mormons, but like, it blows my mind that that's who they're sending out to represent them and all of that. But like, it's also brilliant on a certain level, which is they know absolutely nothing about their own religion.
Oh, right? Totally.
And so for you to like try to engage with them on that, they just reject what you have to say based on nothing, right? Because they know nothing, and they just move on, right?
Yeah.
Like it's the rare Mormon child that goes on a mission that knows anything about the Mormon church, its history, it's really understands its doctrine beyond the stuff that's just taught to them in Sunday school, which is not the whole picture. So.
Which is almost nothing.
Yeah.
So you could shock them about their own religion.
It doesn't work, Dan. They don't believe you. They get that icky feeling, because I know I used to get it.
Yeah.
You get that icky feeling when that somebody's telling you something from
which
the devil.
They attribute to being, Satan is in the room or whatever.
Yeah, exactly.
I wonder if you could get in front of that. I wonder if you could say, hey, okay, I'm going to tell you a few things. And what's going to happen is you're going to get an icky feeling.
Right.
And you're going to assume that it's Satan.
Right.
But it's not. It's just the feeling that you get when someone says something against something that you believe, and you get a bit of cognitive dissonance.
Yeah.
I'm going to encourage you to move through that.
I want you to feel it. I want you to,
it's okay.
It.
You're going to be fine.
Yeah.
I'm not the devil. There is no devil. It's fine.
Well, maybe you could just ask them to cast the devil out to start with. Just be like, hey, listen, hey, that would be interesting. Ask them to do an exorcism of your home. Do whatever you need to do to make sure that there are no devils here, that there are no demons trying to get you. You can bless or anoint as pleases you. Just don't get any oil on my carpet. And just to be sure, tell the demons as you're casting them out that there's like a 30-minute period of time that they're not allowed back in at all.
Give them the window.
All. It's 30 minutes, right? Now let's test that.
Yeah. I love it. That's really funny. Surely you have more power than a demon. Come on. All right. Well, speaking of Mormons, the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, I'm going to, we talked a few weeks ago about that AP article that came out that exposed the LDS Church's helpline, which is the line that does help. It helps the bishops know how to stay on the windy side of the law, as Shakespeare put it, which is to say that, if someone comes and reports to their bishop that they have been molesting someone, they call that bishop calls the helpline, and the helpline on the other end is lawyers who will tell that bishop how to keep the church safe.
Mm-hmm.
Will not tell that bishop how to keep the child who's being molested or the spouse who's being beaten safe. They will make sure that the church remains safe. Well, there are lawsuits that are happening currently against the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints,
the Mormon Church,
the Mormons, accusing them of conspiring to cover up sex abuse, which I think is a reasonable way of interpreting the series of events that happened.
Huh.
And this is in connection with that same with the main source on that story, or the main story within that story, which was of a man who was egregious in his I should say that the trigger warnings, all the trigger warnings. I should have done that before. Fast forward a little bit if you don't want to hear this, but he molested his daughter. He not only did that, he told his bishop about it. His bishop called the helpline. Helpline said, you don't got to do shit because you're in Arizona, which apparently didn't have any kind of, reporting requirement. So he didn't do anything. He probably told the guy to cut it out, to repent, but that doesn't count. That's not going to stop anything.
He did it with the authority of a Mormon bishop, though.
Yeah. In the name of the holy Melchizedek priesthood, I command you. Yeah, that's not a thing. That doesn't stop stuff. So anyway, he kept doing it for 7 years. Both to this little girl and her infant sibling. And so they're suing. And right now, the church is claiming the clergy penitent privilege prevents them from giving over their documentation of this whole thing. Because if there's one thing we know about the Mormon Church, they keep records.
Yeah. Here's the deal. I don't think that man was repentant.
No. Yeah, you have to have penitence in order to have clergy penitent privilege.
Like, okay, he stopped. Still awful that he did it, but maybe you have some claim there. I mean, I'm being stupid, of course.
Right. Meanwhile, here in Utah, there have been protests after this article that have started popping up, demanding reporting laws, like mandatory reporting.
Yeah. Yeah, that's true.
Which would be great.
Yeah, actually, by a Republican in the state legislature.
Oh, yeah. Okay. That's right.
Yeah.
But
what?
Well, unfortunately,
it doesn't stand a chance in hell.
The state legislature is there's only one important entity in the Utah state legislature.
Yeah.
And that is the LDS Church.
Yeah. There will never be a bill, as politics are currently constituted in Utah, that the LDS Church wants or does not want to go through that will make it through.
Yeah.
It just won't happen.
And the LDS Church doesn't want this to go.
No.
They should be very much, but as you pointed out when we were talking about this before, if mandatory reporting goes through, becomes the law, the church would abide by it if it became the law, but it would also we would have records of how much abuse is happening within the LDS Church.
They don't want that.
They do not want that.
Even though it still wouldn't be the full number, but
no, not by a long shot.
Yeah.
It would just be the number of people who foolishly confessed to their bishop.
Yeah. Jesus Christ. Oy. All right, Dan.
Yeah.
I don't think we talked about this on the show. Back in January, there was a case in Florida where a 17-year-old young woman was seeking an abortion. And her parents were not granting permission. And under Florida law at the time, I'm sure this has changed, a minor could still receive an abortion through a court order. And basically, though, the court had to determine that she was mature enough to be making this decision.
Yes, maturity is very important.
Yes. I mean, a 17-year-old making a reproductive decision. Anyway, I'm just going to trust her. Nonetheless, the name of the judge that was overseeing the thing, his name was Jared Smith. He ruled against her.
I with apologies to anyone who might have this name, I don't trust a judge named Jared.
He, of course, was appointed by, Ron DeSantis, governor of Florida. But it sounds like that must have been like a non-election year appointment, because it does sound like judges are directly elected in Florida. I'll get to that in a second. Anyway, the grounds by which he ruled against her were that she was not sufficiently mature. But he was basing it largely on her grades.
Oh my God.
In his ruling, he said, while she claimed that her grades were B's during her testimony, her GPA is currently 2.0. Clearly, a B average would not equate to a 2.0 GPA. So essentially, he's saying because she was not a very good student, she must not be mature.
Right.
Therefore, she cannot make a decision like this on her own. And so the parents get to decide.
Here's what I love about this reasoning. You want that person, the person that you do not believe is mature enough to make this decision, to be a parent?
Exactly.
You want that person raising a child? The default should be, I don't believe that you are mature enough to make this decision. Have an abortion.
Yeah. That's exactly right. But once again, this just clearly demonstrates that the anti-choice movement doesn't care about the child, right?
No, not at all.
So but nonetheless, the ruling was overturned in an appeals court, thank God. I don't know, how long that took. This article doesn't get into that. But nonetheless, it was eventually resolved correctly, it sounds like. However, and correctly, having to have a court involved in the first place is already incorrect, but whatever. He just lost election in a nonpartisan primary against an attorney by the name of Nancy Jacobs, who ran really hard on the abortion issue, apparently.
Good.
And she won, and he will no longer be a judge. So
we'll let that be a lesson to everyone out there. Like, literally, the abortion thing's a winner for our side. They've been playing it like it's a winner for their side for the longest time. And I think, and literally, our side has been afraid to run on that.
Yeah. And now people are openly running on it. And I think
that's the way to go. Yeah. Even in Florida. Like, if that is true in Florida, it is true in America.
Yeah. Well, it was definitely true in Kansas. That big the big state amendment, this decision that was made by the voters. Like, it is clear that this is that anti-choice is a fringe position in this country. Right. Even people who are uncomfortable with the concept of abortion, right? They still acknowledge that there are situations, right?
And lots of them
that need to be allowed for, right?
Yeah.
So even in states that would otherwise have probably fairly strict anti-abortion laws or abortion laws, I guess, assuming that they're allowing them, very strict limitations on abortion. That's what I'm trying to say. They even in those states, those voters don't want abortion completely taken away.
Right.
And okay, maybe they don't see it as a reproductive health choice and, so forth and so on. It's cast in a different light for them, but they understand the need for abortion to be available. And I never would have guessed it, but it seems like it's an issue that's very good for Democrats to be running on right now. So.
Yeah. Well, speaking of dirty hippies, there was an interesting article in the Religion News Service about, with COVID, it's not going down. COVID instances are going up, or at least they're there's lots of COVID still happening in the world. Mm-hmm. But we're all ignoring it now. We're all pretending it doesn't exist anymore.
I feel my mental health has been so much better since I started ignoring COVID.
Since you started pretending
that COVID doesn't exist. Yeah.
A worldwide pandemic.
I will acknowledge COVID when I'm sick with COVID. Otherwise, it doesn't exist.
Anyway, another group that is also pretending COVID doesn't exist now is groups of I don't want to say hippies, witches, pagans, your various and sundry earth-based Wiccan types who are starting to have meetups again. For the longest time they weren't doing it.
Yeah.
And now they're starting to have, street fairs and meetups and whatever. And when that happens, you got to get the Christians out to protest and annoy them.
Oh boy.
And apparently the street preachers of the world have stepped up and decided that they are going to be even more annoying than they have been in the past.
Oh, God.
There's an event in New York City called Witches Fest, which is funny because it's witches without an E, not WITCHES, but WITCHS Fest.
Huh.
I don't know. Anyway, Witches Fest in New York. They did a lot of planning and promoting and got ready and everything. And then the street preachers showed up. Now, normally, the street preachers are sort of cordoned off to a distant corner of the street and whatever. They're allowed to be there, but this time they got right into the heart of things, and they had, bullhorns and amplified, speakers and stuff, and they were just shouting down the festivities.
Oh, Jesus.
And the cops wouldn't help. The cops actually let them do it. Oh. Said it was a free speech issue, which it's not. It's against the law to have an amplified thing without a permit, which of course they had not gotten a permit, but the cops wouldn't help. So, and this is apparently a nationwide trend, Christian people just bothering other people. I guess a lot of it, I have heard because every week I go and I listen to a whole bunch of asshole preachers, sorting through their audio to give you guys something to listen to. And I hear the word pagan happening all the time. They're demonizing pagans. And of course they throw them into the same bucket as atheists and Satanists and stuff. We are all the same to them. And so they go out and they want to shout people down. They want to, they intimidate them. There was one event, I think it was somewhere in the South, where a big group of Christian dickheads literally surrounded a group of pagans and like were really trying to intimidate them. So yeah, the harmless hippies are being harassed.
By Christ's love.
By Christ's love. Yeah. Christ's love, boy, that doesn't... Anyone who claims that they are representing that anymore, it's just... We know you're not. Just quiet you. You know you're not. You know there's no love in what you're doing. Anyway.
Indeed. Well, Dan.
Yeah.
I've got a story out of Singapore.
Ooh.
This surprised me. Apparently it shouldn't have surprised me as much as it did. That speaks to my lack of knowledge and ignorance to that part of the world.
Sure.
But Singapore has announced that they will be decriminalizing gay sex.
Oh.
This was based...
I mean, it does also sort of point out that it was criminalized all this time.
Oh, yeah, by the British, right? They just hadn't undone some colonial laws.
Oh, okay.
Which is a kind of a common story around the world.
Sure.
Thanks, Brits.
Thanks, Brits.
Your little empire spread some nasty shit around the world.
Thanks, Europe. We appreciate it.
Nonetheless, apparently they're just sort of catching the law up with what was kind of just general practice anyway, legally.
Sure.
They hadn't really been enforcing it for a while. Again, according to this article, I'm sure there are probably a few instances where that may not be the case, but this is from their prime minister. He says that repealing the law is the right thing to do now, as most Singaporeans will now accept decriminalization. Private sexual behavior between consenting adults does not raise any law and order issue. Isn't that just a great way of looking at it, right? Well, it's not causing problems, so why is it illegal?
Right.
There is no justification to prosecute people for it, nor to make it a crime. This will bring the law into line with current social mores, and I hope provide some relief to gay Singaporeans. All right.
Indeed.
Now, this does not mean that Singapore is all of a sudden some great bastion of gay rights.
No.
They, in the same announcement, in order to make sure that more conservative parts of their society weren't too outraged or whatever by this, they have committed to shoring up their constitution to make sure that gay marriage cannot take place.
Oh, thank God! Thank God. That would have been awful.
that there can be no constitutional challenge that might end up allowing same-sex marriage. So they're going to clean that all up. But nonetheless, this should be provide some relief, if if only psychologically, right?
They're only 30 years behind the rest of the world and 5 years behind the US, so they're doing fine.
No, would I prefer that they were just perfect on the issue? Yeah, of course. But seeing progress happen is always a good thing, and
it's nice. Yes,
that part of the world, Asia has had a harder time coming around on gay rights.
That's true.
And now there are some obvious exceptions. Let's see. I guess Taiwan has legalized gay marriage back in 2019. I didn't know that. Thailand also recently approved plans for allowing gay marriage, and Vietnam recently banned conversion therapy. Their health department or health ministry declaring it not a disease.
Oh, well, that's very progressive.
Yeah, well, apparently Vietnam otherwise is also kind of okay. They've made great strides in Vietnam. Also didn't know that.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I think it's worth paying attention to.
Absolutely.
Because I don't know that I'm comfortable traveling to places in this world where that don't allow at least gay sex.
Right. Where you might be arrested for just being you.
And this just opened up another place that I can potentially travel to someday.
That's nice.
Wouldn't you like to see Singapore?
I would.
Yeah, right.
It sounds great.
Yeah. And see, this wasn't a concern for you before.
Yeah.
But it would have been for me.
Yep.
And now it's not.
Well, I love it. That's great. I'm going to close us off with a tale of book burning. It's funny because as we've learned through the last several years, the conservative side of our American political system and religious people, they tend to like accuse other people of doing the thing that they actually do. So, when you hear conservatives yelling about First Amendment rights, the liberals are taking away our First Amendment rights, that they're either about to take away your First Amendment rights or they're gonna, anyway. So recently I've heard I've heard a lot of conservatives talking about how how liberals are trying to take away First Amendment rights, and then they ban books. That's what they do. Well, I'm going to talk about a book burning that happened. This was done by a preacher named Jonathan Shelley. It surprised me. It was a targeted book burning.
Oh.
Previous targeted book burnings by pastors have included things like Harry Potter or that sort of thing.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe Twilight. This one, I gotta admit, it's weird to see a bunch of Christians throwing Bibles into a fire.
Oh my. Were they like translations that they don't agree with?
Anything that isn't the King James Version.
Whoa.
That is just cuckoo.
Okay.
For those of you who don't know, the King James Version is not even a translation. It is just a version. It was literally a compromise version that King James commissioned, King James of England, back in the late 1500s, early 1600s. They did not do any new translation. They just took other translations and sort of pushed together the things that they liked and pushed out the things that they didn't like. It's a mess
too, right?
Yeah, a little bit. I mean, they used fancy, pretty words.
Yeah.
But it's a mess. It's kind of a disaster of a version.
How dare you?
And
but it's the most cherished
It is cherished.
version of the Bible, Dan.
It does have a lot of these and thous in it. It does sound like fancy talk, that's for sure, to a modern ear.
Yeah, that's why you have to, you
burn everything else is what you have to do.
Yeah. Oh my God. That's pretty remarkable. Did you say who the group is?
It's this preacher and his congregation.
Wow.
This Jonathan Shelley guy.
But what's the denomination and stuff?
That I didn't find.
Oh, okay.
Literally him and Meta tweeted this out, and I was just so flabbergasted seeing it. It's just really, and he literally, like, the bit that Hammond tweeted starts with him saying, "Now get your parents' permission, but if any of you kids want to come and throw one of these into the fire, you go right ahead."
So when people burn books, where are they getting the books from?
I don't know.
Are they going out and buying them so they can burn them?
Presumably he's having congregants who have other versions bring them down.
That's not so bad. It's not like they went to the library, checked out a bunch of books, and are burning them.
Oh, I wouldn't be surprised.
That would be also pretty
I wouldn't
amazing.
be surprised. It's so
I love the whole thing of book burning.
Yeah. Do you know that they can still publish it, right? You know that you haven't stopped the book, right? You're literally just polluting the air right now.
I don't know. I mean, I love a good bonfire. So
sure. And there's a symbolic thing to it. I've literally burned books before.
Oh, have you?
You and I have a mutual friend actually who was given a Glenn Beck book for Christmas by his mother.
Oh, Jesus.
And so we wanted to get cozy for Christmas, so we decided that would be good kindling. So yeah, I mean, I get the symbolic gesture of burning books. I just think it's just amazing to see a Christian group burning Bibles. Yeah. That's something that was a new one for me. That was a new one. And ladies and gentlemen, if you'd like to tell us your stories of book burning, please feel free to do so. You can write into us, podcast@thankgodimatheist.com.
Or call and leave us a voicemail message. The telephone number is 424-666-8442. Stick around. We got more show coming up.
Well, Frank,
Dan,
I was going to, when I was looking for some audio to play, there's a lot of anti-LGBTQIA plus hatred out there.
Yeah.
And some of it was just so disturbing and rough that what I found was like, it's still that. But this is the least overt, doesn't use any slurs, really, and doesn't accuse anyone directly of pedophilia, I don't think. But this is actual Congressperson Marjorie Taylor Greene. I can't believe I have to say those words together. Talking to Christian Ding Dong Lance Wallnow.
Oh boy.
They're at some sort of hate expo. I don't know what it is.
HateCon.
So you'll hear some awful. So you'll hear a lot of noise in the background because apparently they don't know how to do any sound engineering.
Okay.
But they're having a good conversation. So we'll just let them speak for themselves.
and a generation of children that are just being attacked by Satan and the evil left with horrific things, not only abortion, but now gender mutilation surgeries and horrible medications.
Yeah, and I heard a statistic, so I've got to go back this up, but we're data-driven here. 4,000% increase in the amount of psychological counseling stress related to children 11 years old and younger in gender confusion. 4,000% increase because it's being marketed. It's being marketed.
Yes, because it's an industry. Let's be very real about what it is. It is an industry that is going to make a lot of money, and it's projected to make a lot of money.
It's like environmentalists. They make money so that they become a trending cultural phenomena.
Yes, absolutely. And they don't. There's no right and wrong in the Democrat Party.
Right.
Think about this. Ever since God was taken, prayer was taken out of school, which is such a failure. Look at the slide in our basically the soul of America, to the point where we're soulless. We don't have a soul anymore, and children are being confused to the point where they're actually falling for this horrific lie that is leading them to do horrible things.
They're data-driven, Frank.
Yes, as long as he finds a number that from anywhere,
right,
that sounds pretty good to him.
Yeah,
data-driven.
I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if, if counseling for kids experiencing some sort of gender issue has gone up 4,000%, because back in our time, you weren't allowed to have counseling for that.
Dear God.
That was just,
yeah.
Your parent wouldn't even talk to you about that sort of thing. Now it's being talked about. Now it's actually it's a real thing.
It was so far off or so far out of the discourse when we were growing up.
Right.
It had to have just been confusion strictly.
Right.
For people who were growing up transgender, right?
Yeah.
Having no idea of what the future could hold for them.
You were just a tomboy back then.
Yeah.
Or you were just you just needed to man up a bit.
Yeah.
And that was the end of it.
Yeah.
So
it makes sense that, with parents who know now, who have more information about what's possible with their child and their gender. It makes sense that there would be.
Go get some professional help to help your kids sort of navigate some tricky waters.
Yeah.
It's fine.
But boy, it's an industry, Dan.
Oh yeah.
That people just looking to make money off of these confused kids.
Oh, it's such a
that's
I will say this.
Really
I can definitely refute Marjorie Taylor Greene's assertion that there's no right or wrong in the Democrat Party, because we all agree you're wrong. Just as a concept, the concept of Marjorie Taylor Greene is wrong. And everyone on our side of things agrees with that. That you, as a human, as an existence, are incorrect. Oh boy. Well, we had some folks write into us and call into us. We had one email from an anonymous listener who said, I was watching, this is cute. I was watching The View, and in a table discussion, Whoopi, that would be Whoopi Goldberg, mentioned a podcast that she likes with the word God in it. I went to my app and found a few, but did a sample listen on yours and have now subscribed. So this was a pleasant find. I love that that's how someone found us. Thank you, Whoopi. We know you're a frequent listener to our show. But yes, anyone who found us just by sort of typing the word God in and just seeing what happens, welcome.
Yeah, absolutely.
I think that's a great way to find us.
And that we actually got mentioned by Whoopi Goldberg. Do you know what would happen to our numbers, Dan?
I think we might get a few.
That would be a great shout out. Well, too bad.
Yeah. Whoopi, help us out. Come on now.
We know you're listening.
So last week, you'll recall, we had a discussion about spirituality, and I had my perennial issue with not knowing what the hell that is, and people, we invited our listeners to write into us and call into us about what spirituality means to them,
and had a big response.
And we had a lot of response. I'm going to start with Mark, who wrote into us. Mark wrote a whole bunch of stuff about sort of the history of what could be called spirit or whatever. Okay. And then said, John Lennon said, creativity is a gift, but from whom? Lennon continued, it doesn't come through when the air is cluttered. This is what spiritual practices do. They get rid of the clutter. When doing yoga, one focuses on the breath to eliminate distraction, and in that state, you can indeed come into awareness of the space around your heart wherein it beats. When one practices meditation or prayer, the focus is on eliminating the distractions of what you see and hear, and the mental mice, like worry and addiction, seek something different. Deeper, sorry. What is deeper is the subconscious. It is there the whole time, but we are usually too distracted to notice. So, in my view, the spirit is actually the subconscious. It seems separate from us and wiser than us. In moments of inspiration, and he's got a little inspiration thing. I don't know. I don't know how to say the visual thing that he's linguistically done in the thing. Anyway, in moments of inspiration, ideas from the subconscious come into our consciousness. It seems like another being talking to us. Some see that as tapping into a hidden part of the brain, others as their intuition, others as a universal consciousness, and still others as a supernatural being like an ancestor or a god. All of it is truly spectral. I think that's an interesting perspective. The truth of the matter is that I think maybe that speaks to why I don't connect to this concept. Because I don't have the experience of feeling like my subconscious or any of the messaging that comes to me when I do meditate or whatever is from another source. It always just, I understand it to be me. And, I'm doing some of my best thinking right now. And that's great.
So so basically, why would you term that, spiritual or as a spiritual
But I understand
experience?
that some people might feel like it's from a foreign source or a different source. So that's interesting. I can see that being a thing.
Yeah.
We have a voicemail, do we not?
We do. Yeah. Donnie, from Mount Shasta, called in, and he's responding to, in large part, to that connection between spiritual practice and being engaged sort of externally, like with your community and whatnot, that we talked about in that discussion as well.
Right. Okay, great.
Hey guys, Donnie here, Mount Shasta, California. So I really enjoyed your last episode and had some thoughts. I share Dan's confusion about the ambiguity around the word spiritual, especially as it applies to things like yoga and meditation. As I've referenced before when calling in, after leaving Mormonism, I spent the better part of a decade diving headfirst into all things woo, from theta healing to tarot cards in every crystal-bedecked Tai Chi studio I could find, and realized after moving into a community deeply rooted in so-called spiritual practice that it is just as bizarre and batshit as the religion I was raised into, and was finally able to think my way free of it. I still do yoga 4 times a week and practice mindfulness meditation 9 days out of 10. I don't find either one of these to be a spiritual practice at all. Yoga helps keeps me limber and my muscles relaxed, which is important to me because I'm always, working around hot food and have to move fast. And, it's just exercise. And mindfulness meditation just helps me shut down all the chatter in my head, and it helps me deal with my anxiety and my stress. and it's even helped bring my blood pressure down. So, like, even in studies, there are real physiological and psychological benefits to both practices. I just don't do the namaste crap at the end of yoga practice, and I'm not trying to harmonize my vibrations for whatever that means when I do meditation. When it comes to community engagement, though, I had a thought. I think that most people who are in spiritual practices really do consider bettering the world at large to be important, but much like in Mormonism and other religions, community engagement is usually directed inwards towards the tribe. For instance, like, charitable giving is giving to your group to pay for the rent or upkeep of the meditation center, or staying after Tai Chi to clean up, or like cooking for someone in the group who's sick. Most of their outreach, in my experience, to the greater community is meditating on raising the consciousness vibration, again, whatever that means, and rarely translates into volunteering at like a local food bank or senior center. While there's nothing wrong with this and having community is a great thing, many woo-wee groups are just as insular and tribal as religious groups are. I mean, this is just my personal experience, but I would absolutely love to see a study done on that. Anyway, thanks, guys. I hope you have a great day, and we'll talk to you later.
Well, that's great.
Yeah.
Thanks, Donnie.
Yeah. Totally.
Yeah. I mean, I think you make an interesting point, which is that humans tend to just tribalize themselves no matter what.
Yeah.
So, and whether it's religion or the woo people, people tend to find their tribe and then engage with that and keep it insular in that respect.
Yeah, I mean that's the seems to be, as you say, just sort of human behavior.
Yeah,
that's how we work. A lot of group type stuff. I mean, you would probably see it outside of even like if you were talking more like about a hobby group as well, right? Like whatever sense of community you might be getting from, belonging to a, stargazing group, right?
Yeah,
or a coin collecting group or whatever.
By the way, can you actually claim that you're doing yoga if you don't say namaste at the end? It doesn't feel like you can. You're just doing stretches at that point. We had someone else write into us. Hey guys, I just listened to the latest episode and had some ideas on the definitions of soul and spirituality. To me, the soul has to do with some connection or peace between your mind and your body within yourself. Meditation and yoga are great examples of improving the mind-body connection. To me, a soul is a deep longing for peace and communication between my mind, body, and emotional health. I think Christians and other religious people would define the soul as something that transcends the physical body. To me, spirituality has to do with connecting to something greater outside of yourself, whether it be family, society, or community. A give and take between the individual and the whole to make both better.
Yeah.
Yeah. I admit to still being baffled by this whole concept of like trying to create a connection between your body and your mind when like my mind is literally contained in my body. How much more connected can I get?
You get so literal with this stuff. I think it all obviously comes from the fact that like we struggle to understand our own consciousness.
Sure.
Right.
I think that's true.
And our consciousness somehow feels separate from our body. Right. Like
it can. Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like it's very easy to think about, because like my conscious experience of my life feels very much the same as it did 20 years ago, right?
Right.
But my body's different, and so I think as we see like our body gets hurt or ages or whatever sort of around us, right? That there's this disconnect, and we struggle to understand it, and we struggle to deal with it. I know I do,
Yeah.
So.
Yeah.
But I think that's where like these other words come in to kind of try to make sense of it all, right?
Yeah.
Because the human psyche is crazy.
Yeah, and it's not necessarily easy to understand. Yeah, I think you're right. I think maybe that's the problem here is that we're using words. We're trying to find a language that can really sort of help us navigate that ethereal idea there, or these concepts that we don't necessarily have a grasp on.
Mm-hmm.
And we turn to religious wording, or, sometimes, if you're in the Deepak Chopra world, you turn to scientific wording.
Mm-hmm.
But that doesn't actually apply. All of this vibration stuff and energy stuff, those are words that are borrowed from other parts of our society and don't actually apply, but they're being used in a different way. It just confuses things. We need better words for this stuff.
Yeah. But it's all metaphor, right? And it's metaphor.
Not to some people. That's the problem, is that it's meant to be metaphor. And then they start, and then somebody's like, no, but it's real vibrations. This is quantum physics stuff. And it's like, no, it's not. And they're like, yes, it is. Deepak said so. Anyway,
fair enough.
So we have some folks to thank, and I will launch into that. Jennifer is now a priest. I'm going to make Jennifer a priest in our priesthood, who gave us a one-time donation. Thank you so much, Jennifer. We got a monthly subscription from Carmen, who is now a deacon. Thank you so much, Carmen. You have magic powers. We have bestowed them upon you. Blessings and peace. We've done a virtual laying on of hands to your head. Yes. Don't worry. It's just your head. And since it's virtual, we didn't mess up your hair or anything. So yeah, that's some cool magic. And listen, kids, we know a whole bunch of you are about to get $10,000 of your student loans just completely wiped away. You might be looking for a place to start making those payments. If you want to, you can send them over to your good friends Frank and Dan. To do so, all you'd have to do is go to thankgodimatheist.com and click on the Support Us tab. And you can give us all of that $10,000 if you want to. That's an option.
Indeed. And as always, Dan, we have our top donor to thank, our Lord and Savior, Davis. Thanks so much. Stick around. There's more show coming up. Hey, Dan.
Yes, sir.
As a former BYU student, right, we said what that is. That's the big Mormon university down in Provo, Utah. As a former BYU student, I find this story about them throwing away LGBTQ resource pamphlets shocking.
You don't. You don't.
Thoroughly and deeply shocked that bastion of liberalism down in Provo, Utah would do something so awful. Yeah. So
here's what's shocking.
Oh.
The actual shocking thing is that BYU actually did agree.
Yeah.
They worked with local LGBTQ groups.
Yep.
And then they agreed. No one forced this on them. They themselves agreed to give this pamphlet out to the incoming freshmen at BYU.
Yeah.
That was their agreement.
Right. It's clear that maybe they weren't fully on board, that there was clearly somebody at the institution that was not consulted.
There may have been some dissension in the ranks.
Because so the packets that the incoming freshmen get, they get like a little welcome bag, right?
Yeah.
And this was actually physically put into those bags. It was a done deal, right?
Yeah.
And then whoever got involved, and they were taken out and promptly thrown away.
Yeah.
And so,
like literally into the garbage.
Yeah.
This wasn't just like we're not using rhetoric here. They were literally thrown in the garbage.
Thrown away. An anonymous tip-off apparently happened to one of the groups involved in creating the pamphlet. These are groups like Equality, or these are at least the logos that are on it. There's the Equality Utah logo. There's the, actually, I don't know what those other logos are for. USGA, and the Rainbow Collective. And then there's like a rainbow cougar. The BYU, their mascots, they're the Cougars. So there's this like rainbow striped cougar. And then there's like a little bee that's a rainbow. So that's obviously something Utah.
Utah uses honeybees as a sort of
as a state symbol or
state
whatnot.
Symbol.
But nonetheless, people worked on this thing, and
they were bought and paid for.
They printed,
not by BYU.
No, not at all. And they had a $200 contract with the school to distribute these, and which seems like a small sum to me. I would expect it to be more than that, but but nonetheless, they had the whole thing up and running, and then just unceremoniously, it was the end of it. I mean, it comes as no surprise that this is the outcome, because BYU has done similar sort of things recently where there's like, I mean, immediately jumping to mind was what was it? The speech pathology program or something along those lines. The maybe it wasn't speech pathology, but you know, there was a program offered at BYU through their a graduate program where transgender people could come in and get coaching and help on transitioning their voice.
Yeah.
Right. And that was at BYU. That was a service that was being offered to the community. And then somebody high up who didn't know that was going on found out about it and shut the thing down.
Yeah.
Right. And this sounds exactly like the same sort of thing, that it's like, you know, you have people working at a certain level, middle management level at BYU, who see no problem with it. They're like, yeah, of course, though. Let's read through this. Yeah, it's great. Fine. Put it in the bag.
Well, and also understand that like there's a PR, there's PR goodness in that. Like, you know what I mean? Like BYU has taken some hits recently over how they handle LGBTQIA plus type stuff. And they don't want that. They it's bad publicity, and they'd rather have good publicity. So they want to, they want to quietly just sort of work with the groups so that the groups don't protest and whatever.
Yeah.
Until some old dude, and it's certainly an old man that made this call,
clearly
goes and looks at it and goes, you go through every one of these and you throw this out.
Yeah. In the trash. Yeah. And it ends up being more harmful, right? To those incoming queer freshmen than if they had never even agreed to the thing in the first place. It's more harmful to the trans community to have a service ripped away.
Yeah.
Right. Than to never have offered it in the first place. If you ask me. Right. Like, obviously, there were people served in the meantime. Right. But the overall messaging is that much harsher. And that more it's such a firm announcement and reaffirming of the fact that you are not welcome here. We do not want you here. That is the message that they're sending out. We do not want to provide you with resources. We're not even providing you the resources. This is a pamphlet that tells you where you can go elsewhere to get resources, right? To help you through this time in your life.
Here's some other people who actually do care about you.
Yeah. They can't even do that. No. That is beyond them. And that is so fucking awful. The easiest thing they could have, the best thing they could have done, this old white guy, is go, oh my gosh, okay, this is never happening again.
Right.
Right. This
let it happen this one time.
One time, right? We're going to avoid, the bad press. We're going to avoid how harmful this is going to be perceived by members of this community. And we're going to let it happen this one time, but this can never happen again. And that would have been it's still awful, but it would have been savvier. It would have been just
because this is a PR disaster.
Yeah, this sucks for them. Yeah.
But I think you're right. It is so much worse to say you're going to do something and then renege on that
at the very last minute.
Yeah. But you know what it does? It sends the clearest possible message.
Yeah.
And hopefully, though I know that this is going to be very painful for a lot of people, hopefully they actually learn that, you know what, these people did not care about you at all from the beginning.
Yeah.
You should probably pay attention to that.
Yeah. The Mormon Church, young queer person, is still not your friend. Right. They still don't want you. No matter what kind of weird things, weird overtures they kind of say, they kind of make. You know, there's this, like, what do they call it? The Office of Belonging at BYU, right? That was formed last year. The Office of Belonging, right?
Right.
And this was part of an effort to recognize marginalized groups at BYU, right?
Right.
So there's that, I guess.
But listen, this isn't just messaging for the queer Mormons. This is messaging for queer affirming straight people and cis people in the Mormon Church. They talk about loving their LGBTQ brothers and sisters all the time. They say those words. But when the rubber hits the road, it's hate. That's what they got.
Yep.
So there you go. I don't see how you can argue your way out of that.
No, nor would I try.
No, indeed. Well, listen, if you have any personal experience with the hatred of a church, you may feel free to write in and tell us about it. Podcast at thankgodimatheist.com.
Or call and leave us a voicemail message. The telephone number is 424-666-8442.
Yeah. Hey, go to the Facebook page, facebook.com/TGIAtheist. Click the like button.
And if you'd like to join one of our members-only lounges, they're pretty awesome and great places. You can go to our website, thankgodimatheist.com/members-only, and you'll find information on how to join.
Yes. Hey, thanks to the Red Rock Hot Club for the use of their beautiful music.
And thanks to Gordon Johnston for the use of his music.
And thanks to all of y'all for tuning in. We sure do appreciate it.
Thanks so much. Bye-bye.